Hello, dear listeners. I wanted to let you know that I am now trialling Libsyn's automatic ads on the A Game of One's Own podcast feed. I can't pick and choose which brands appear, but I've blocked as many categories of ads as I can. If any dodgy ads still make it through, do let me know, and I'll request that they be removed, or I will turn off ads altogether. You can reach me via the contact form at snazzytapier.com. Patreon supporters already have early access to new episodes, and episodes will stay ad-free on the Snazzy Tapier Patreon feed. Thanks so much to Snazzy supporters Matt, Mike Barnes, and Ollie of the Beholder for keeping the show on the road. If you'd like to join them, head to patreon.com/snazzytapier. Now, on with the podcast. Hello and welcome to A Game of One's Own. I'm your host, Maddy Searle. My pronouns are they, them. And today I'm joined by the wonderful Wren to play Tangled Blessings by Cassi Mothwin, a duet game of magical academia. Wren, could you please introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Wren. I go by Masquewren on the internet. I am a TTRPG performer, occasional voice actor, and cosplayer.
Wonderful. Thanks so much for joining me. Before we begin, just a quick note to the listener that there are content warnings for this game in the show notes, as there are for every episode of the show. And in this game, Wren and I will be taking on the role of rival students at a mysterious and magical academy for adults. We're finishing our last year, and in less than 24 hours, we'll be facing each other in one last exam before we graduate. Blackroot Academy, where this game takes place, is built around the Speaking Gem, a magical artifact whose history is hazy and unreliable, but stories suggest it called to pilgrims in their dreams. If anyone made it to the Speaking Gem without dying on their journey, they were awakened, suddenly able to call upon magic in the air. After centuries of study, scholars have unlocked the power within the Speaking Gem and understand how to harvest abilities otherwise out of reach. With generations of study behind them, these scholars are willing to teach us. In the world of Tangled Blessings, Blackroot Academy and the rest of the magical universe is hidden from the normal world known as the Planes. There is a whole secret society of magic users around the world, and we have been invited to join. We'll be using a deck of tarot cards to play this game, and using them to select prompts to guide our story. So firstly, we need to answer some questions in order to create our characters. What is your character's name and pronouns? So, Wren, what have you got for your character?
So, for my character, I have Zoanna Heights, pronouns she, they.
Perfect. I love it. And I think for my character, I'm going for Emmeline Mistletoe. And I think she'll be she, her. And how did Zoanna receive their letter from Headmaster Elvas? What kind of weird magical situation was this?
So, I think Zoanna was probably doing laundry at the time, methodically folding clothes, taking them out of the dryer. And then just amongst this pile of warm, fresh clothing, as she's reaching down into the very warm dryer to get the last bit, there's just suddenly a crinkling of paper. And she's very confused and thinks, oh, that something made it out of the wash and into the dryer. And then it's just a pristine letter. She has to double take her moment. She said, what on earth?
Perfect. I think for Emmeline, she's probably about 21, 22 at this stage. I think she's recently graduated from university and is inevitably finding it very, very hard to find a job related to her degree. Is working in a cafe, is not very good at it, does not like it. And one day, a cat just runs in off the street with a letter in its mouth and just drops it on the counter. And it has Emmeline's name on it. Before she can be like, hey, does anyone else see the cat? The cat's just run out. If she asked anyone about it, she would not be believed. So what loose ends did Zoanna have to tie up before attending Blackroot Academy?
Zoanna was probably in a, I guess, situationship is the best way to describe it. Like this on again, off again kind of thing where they're slightly more than friends, but not really roommates. And so at that point, she kind of has to tell her not partner, I'm going to be going away for a while. You're not going to see me for a bit, which goes over fairly well, as it should. I think it's a bit more difficult when it comes to her parents, because I don't think that she travels that much, has possibly lived in the same city, in the same 20-mile radius her whole life. And so when they are like, oh, I'm going to see what this is about, they're a bit more hesitant. But also, I don't think she can like explain it fully, because I think every time that she tries to explain it in any kind of depth, they just get this glazed look on their face. It's like, I don't know. I think it's just, I'm going on a placement kind of thing.
Yeah, makes sense. I think for Emmeline, it's probably relatively easy for her to quit the cafe job because it seems like that would be kind of a place with high employee turnover. I think she's probably not in a relationship, but maybe has a couple of close friends, and trying to explain to them what the heck she's gonna do is very difficult. And I think probably similarly to Zoanna, they just, even if she uses like the plainest, boldest terms, they just glaze over and just don't get it. And so by the time that she gets around to talking to her parents, who I think, I'm going to play on my own experience and say that Emmeline's been living in England and her parents are in Scotland where she's from, and she like is talking to her parents over the phone and comes up with a similar story of, there's been a sort of special work placement thing. It's for a few years. There's a potential for a like a tenured position at the end of it, so to kind of put a little bit of status on it to make it seem more worthwhile. The next question is, what do you hope to gain by becoming a mage?
The way I'm picturing Zoanna in my mind, they didn't really have to, I think, fight for a lot of things in their life. And so this is, I don't think her family is particularly affluent, but I think they're quote unquote comfortable. Money's never really been an issue, but she knows how to do things for herself. And so I think with this, just because it's so out of left field, she's just very curious about what this could become. Because when you have like a life that is very comfortable, you can develop aspirations, but I think, oh, if it doesn't work out, it's fine. There's something to fall back on. But with this, it's going to be just her on her own. And I think she's interested in like having the experience of a struggle for once, and just being able to like maybe make something of her own stand in life.
Nice. I love it. For Emmeline, I think she was labeled as a gifted kid from a young age. And now that she's reached true adulthood, that sheen has started to wear off. And this seems like a chance to kind of recapture that feeling of being special, being a special little guy. Yeah, I think she's excited to um, feel like she has been chosen for something. I think she's also attracted to the idea of gaining power, whether that is in a healthy way or not, we will see. And last question for the kind of character creation portion of this is, how did the speaking gem talk to you in your dreams?
I don't think the speaking gem uses words so much as it does present images of opportunities, like images of Zoanna in these positions that seem to be otherworldly and ethereal and entirely impossible. Like maybe in some point she's levitating like 30 feet off the ground, and in another she's in among like a study full of moving plants and objects that doesn't seem correct in her world, and all of these possibilities presented to her are really intriguing. So I think just showing her the potential that she could achieve is how it draws her.
Nice. I think for Emmeline, it probably manifests as very, very small, mundane predictions of what's going to happen the following day. Like the day that she got the letter, she saw an image of the cat that would run in and give the letter, but not the context of what would happen. And perhaps on a day where she bumped into an old friend, she would see the friend in her dream and that kind of thing. I think it's very subtle, and then it probably ramped up as more magical things started happening. Things became more explicit and more difficult to ignore and difficult to play off as just a coincidence. To play this game, we have to separate the tarot deck into 5 different piles: the major arcana, wands, pentacles, cups, and swords. And we've set the major arcana deck aside and shuffled each of the decks. And now we need to determine what house we belong to. So students learn their houses by touching the speaking gem and sharing aloud the symbol it shows them. It's possible to lie about what you see, but the speaking gem will always know. So I've got the major arcana cards 1 to 5 in a pile and shuffled them. And we need to pull 1 card each to learn what house we've been assigned. And because we're playing remotely, unfortunately, I've stolen the fun job of getting to pull the cards from Wren. So I will be telling Wren what they get. But here we go. This is, you have got number 4, the Emperor. So that is the House of Spires.
Makes sense. My name is Heights.
So the book says the spires are only safe in their tower because of the panthers who keep guard. The House of Spires represents the connection blades, pens, and spirituality share. While members of this house may only show interest or aptitude in one of the represented icons, they are full members of the spire. Students in this house often carry one or more of these marks: empathy, isolation, or judgment. This dorm is in the high tower. Interesting. And I've got number 1, the Magician, which corresponds to the House of Celestials. The skies borrow from the elements to paint a backdrop for life, featuring iconography of the sun, moon, and constellations. Celestials are known for their inner glow. Still, they do not shy away from the dark surrounding them, as they understand that all things require balance. Students in this house often carry one or more of these marks: discipline, passion, or indifference. This dorm overlooks the lake. So, as rivals, we are both prodigies, learning faster than our classmates and anyone who came before us. We need to face each other in a one on one exam at the end of our 4 years of study, and the winner will ascend to a high status among the other mages. And at this point, we get to choose our specialty. This is an area of intuition or skill where you always shine, and how magic manifested around you in the mundane world. And the examples that the book gives include pointing out poisonous plants, predicting the words and melody of a song, things like that. So just very small things. So what do you think Zoanna has as a specialty?
I really like how I've kind of shaped that they have like a fairly comfortable life. The aspect of luck, I think it's often been the case that if she plays like a game at the arcade, one of those like grab toy games, like she always gets it on the first try. If she enters a raffle or something, she might not win first, but she will win something. She's used to good things happening to her if she tries a thing, if that is a thing that I can do.
No, that sounds perfect. Yeah. From what I've already said as well, I think that Emmeline can just sense when something bad is about to happen just long enough to hopefully stop it, but only very, very small things like someone knocking a glass off a table or someone stepping out into the road at the wrong time. I think she kind of has a split second of, I know what's going to happen if I don't do something really quickly. And it might not always work, but it might give her an edge in those very quick reaction time moments where something might go horribly wrong. The sequence of the main part of the game involves spending 4 years at the academy. We need to recall our memories of each of the 4 years using different decks. At the beginning of a year, we draw 2 cards from its corresponding minor arcana deck. We're playing a slightly shorter game because we've only got today to record. So if you're playing a longer game or you're playing a solo game, you can draw 3 cards. We place the cards face down in front of us, flip over the first minor arcana card at the same time as each other, and we read the prompt associated with the card. We draw 1 card from the major arcana deck and use the revealed card to inspire our response to the prompt. We need to describe our memory based on the 2 cards, and we need to ask the other player how were they involved, how did they remember the event, and did they hear rumours that made it sound worse. And we need to repeat those steps until we've done that for both of the cards, and then we move on to the next year. And we have to make sure that we note down which minor arcana cards we drew, because they will come into play for the final exam. So, year 1 is Wands. Your first card is the 2 of Wands. The prompt says, elemental magic is beyond most first-year students, but you tamed fire as though you've danced in flames your whole life. Your eyes turned gold and now forever glow orange, seemingly never dimming. A reclusive professor marked your success with snide comments, insinuating that you didn't deserve your abilities. Who was this professor and what subject did they teach? What did you do to display your new abilities? And then I'll grab a major arcana card for you. The one that you've got for this one is the stars. So while you're having a think about that, I will reveal what my prompt is. I've got the King of Wands, which is you found your familiar, a docile demon sworn to you on a rainy day when the isolation of studying was wearing you down. What animal form did the demon take? What name did you both agree to? How has the creature helped you at the academy? What did it ask for in return? And where is it now? Interesting. I feel like both of our prompts kind of link into our backstories in an interesting way,
Yeah.
which is very cool. Okay, and then my major arcana card is Temperance. So yeah, how do you think that your elemental powers kind of came to fruition?
I think that it is in a potions making class. Rudimentary. You're basically making just a soup right now, and we're going to look into the elements later. And one of the first things that you learn is how to light a cauldron with magic. It's taking the other first years a couple of tries to get it done. And Zoanna remembers the warmth of sunshine, of being outdoors, the light of a bonfire on her face at a celebration, her parents' wedding anniversary, and she just looks towards the row of cauldrons, and 4 of them light immediately. And it's with this strange bluish gray flame for a second that immediately sinks into the bright orange and golden color that we know. And the teacher, Professor Keen, their head just snaps towards her. And there is a moment where she feels so confused, and there's just this moment of like bright joy on her face, because in this moment she hasn't realized that she's done anything untoward, anything that might warrant reproach. And then he says that, and in her desire to want this bit of struggle, she hadn't considered that it would come from something other than learning magic itself, that it would come from also the people that should be teaching them. And I think there's just a quieting in her, and the flames dim a bit in response as the doubt starts to sink in that maybe even if she can do this, she can still do it wrong. And that is not something that she considered.
Interesting. So I need to respond with how my character was involved and how they remember the event and if they've heard rumours that made it sound worse. Emmeline was probably in this class as a fellow first year, just learning the basics. And the context that this was an unexpected thing that Zoanna did that she didn't even know she could do is lost on Emmeline, and it just looks like Zoanna is showing off needlessly. That causes Emmeline to kind of have a little spark of jealousy and a sense of competition of, I need to have my grandstanding moment of doing something cool in front of everyone, even though that is not how it actually happened. That is just entirely in her head. So for my familiar, I'm in the library. I'm poring over this kind of rather dry old text, and it's a theme. I'm going to go with it. This cat just sort of leaps up onto the desk and starts to bat at the pages of the book. For a moment, I think that it's someone messing with me, and I reach to kind of bat away whatever person is doing this. And then I realize, oh, it's the same cat that brought me my letter, or so I think. This particular cat is entirely white, not long haired, but definitely has some good fluff on it, and has a kind of, as much as a cat can, a wry expression. Once the shock has kind of worn off and I realize that this cat can communicate with me, we have a discussion and I come to the decision to name the cat Willow. The cat doesn't seem to particularly like the name, but doesn't particularly dislike it, so just accepts it. And how has the creature helped you at the academy? The cat's very good at finding interesting things in lost and forgotten corners, like potion ingredients or ritual coins that people might have dropped, and bringing them back to me so that I can kind of augment my potions and my spells. I think in return, it asked me for, I think essentially it wanted me to order fish whenever fish was an option on the menu and to give it half of my fish. For Emmeline, that was a fair deal. And I think now it is usually curled up on the end of Emmeline's bed for most of the day, apart from the few hours where it runs around the academy seeing if it can root out some interesting bits and bobs. So that was my prompt. So how was Zoanna involved and how do they remember the event? Have you heard any dodgy rumors about it?
I think what I hear is that your cat doesn't just find, I think I hear that it steals.
Mhm.
So it's not just finding odd things, I think, and that you are actively sending it out to ruin other students' chances. Maybe just before there's a test, you might steal someone's ritual coins so that they flounder for a bit. Not enough that it's anything to get you kicked out of school, but enough that other students are talking about it. Zoanna just didn't know that you could have a pet. And I think that's how she sees it. It's just that you magicked up a pet and she can't quite figure out how to do it herself. And I'm sure there are other familiars around, but I think seeing you with it she's never felt wanting for anything, but I think she's starting to feel it now.
Mm, nice. Okay, so your next prompt is the Ace of Wands. You attempted portal magic for the first time and it came naturally to you. All you had to do was envision a place and you could open a portal. Where did your first portal go? One portal attempt went wrong. What scar did it leave on you? Have you recovered? Interesting.
It's all the natural things.
And then your major arcana inspiration, should you choose to accept it, is death.
Oh, death isn't bad.
Yeah, it's just a change.
Yeah.
And then I've got the Eight of Wands. One day you were swimming in creative energy and you made a new enchantment, imbuing an object with never before seen magical properties. What was the object? What did you do with it? Were you able to attempt the magic again? And then my major arcana inspiration card is the wheel, number 10. feel free to have a think about your prompt and then do let me know what Zoanna did with their portal.
As she manifested this very first portal again, good things seem to happen to her, and her very first portal opens into what looks like a lush green field, trees. It looks like it spreads for miles, this clearing, and you can see quite clearly against this wall in the classroom these almost tropical birds flying past this open doorway. But it doesn't seem to be of this plane. It seems like she's opened a portal into a different version of this region that they're in another time. So rather than just going to another place, it also went to a different time. And that was great. Perfect. And her luck continues, but there's one time where she begins to do the incantation to open the portal, and she does the gestures, and something distracts her. There's a moment where her hand falters just briefly, but then she continues. And when the portal opens, it is a vast, dark, you can't even say moonlit because the glow that comes out of it is this pale red, and it looks like craggy earth and stripped rock. It looks like there is a river moving through, but the water is black and dark, and there's just like a sucking sensation that starts to happen, like there's a great yawning draw that is trying to pull Zoanna into it. And she manages to grab at the edge of the portal and hold on just a bit until the professor can come and do the incantation to close it. It is terrifying because this wind is not just drawing her, it's drawing other things in the room as well towards the portal. You can hear the desks and chairs scraping against the floor. And as the portal shuts and Zoanna falls to the floor, it looks as if she has aged significantly. As this portal closed, there are crow's feet on her face, and her body is shaking, not just with fear, but it looks like she's become more brittle. And she had to spend a bit of time in the infirmary, and most of it is recovered. Most of her youth is brought back to her, but there are still streaks of gray on the front of her head where they weren't before.
Ooh, fantastic. I love that so much. I think from Emmeline's perspective, I don't think she was there when either of these instances happened, so I think she's only heard about them in rumors. And I think especially for the second portal, I think there are rumors that Zoanna has kind of made a pact with some nefarious entity to gain this power. And because someone saw inside the portal, it was like, "It's only something evil must have lived there, so it must have something evil about it." And Emily's kind of skeptical about this, but files it away for later use if needed. And after this, she goes to the library and starts to look up portal related magic to see if she can kind of figure out what really happened. But I don't think she has the guts to ask Zoanna to their face exactly what went on. And it's all kind of like, it's the sort of Pepe Sylvia conspiracy board. Well, this person said this and that person said that. So, but that contradicts each other. And yeah, maybe later on she will work up the courage, but at this point she can't run the risk of like Zoanna putting a curse on her or something. So yeah, for my prompt, I need to come up with A new enchantment. So the object that I imbue with this new enchantment is just an old, mundane watch from the plains, the mundane world, that's kind of got a scratched face and a slightly fraying leather strap. And I imbue it with the ability to pause time so that when I get that special intuition of something bad's going to happen, I have that extra little bit of thinking time to try and stop the bad thing from happening. I am the only person who can perceive it when I use it. So when I try and tell people that I stopped you from dropping your dinner, or I stopped you from having a bird poo on you or something, they're just like, sure, yeah, sure, Jan. And no one really believes me, so they think that I'm telling tales. I think that I was able to attempt it again, but I think the more that I used it, the less and less time I was able to pause with the item until it kind of wore out. It's like it only had a finite amount of time that it could take up, and then eventually it just became a mundane watch again. So yeah, how do you think Zoanna reacted to this?
Zoanna was, I think, indirectly involved in this. I think it relates back to the portal when
Mm.
you were looking up that portal magic and like the aging effect that it had on her. I think it led you down like a separate rabbit hole into like time manipulation.
Yeah.
That's when that occurred. I don't think she was directly involved in any time stopping, but I think she hears that you're trying to like curry favor by pretending that you've done a bunch of great things for people that no one can prove. As it's kind of like you're just wanting attention
Yeah.
by just claiming that you did these semi miraculous things. I think though, even though it sounds worse, I think she sort of believes you. Even though she's not addressing you directly at any point, I think she does semi believe you.
Yeah, and I think that when the magic wears out, so no one can like examine the object to figure out where the magic comes from, like, that's very convenient, isn't it? And Emily's like, no, it wore out. That's the truth. You gotta believe me. Beautiful. Okay. At the end of the first year, we've got a particular prompt to answer. You had a break between your first and second year. How did you spend your downtime? Did you miss having access to magic, or did you remain at Recruit Academy? What did your rival do during this time? Okay, so what do you think Zoanna did during this break?
If going home is an option, I think they would have gone home. I think they would have really longed to see their parents again and have like the comfort of like a mundane routine. Like I think she just didn't realize how difficult it would be. Like that desire for a struggle is fine when you've never had to before. And then at the first inkling of trouble, you're just like, I wanna go home. Uh it's not what I thought it was, but she's still very much interested, and I think she spends a lot of the downtime like trying to study so that she can prove that she actually knows more of the theory than just being able to do things naturally. She wants to prove herself because those first comments, I think it was very early in the year, and I think it really like stuck a needle in her.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, I think Emmeline's probably going to stay at the academy and is similarly going to try and focus on studying up. And I think that her relationships with people in the mundane world are going to suffer as a result. I don't think she's been very good at keeping in contact with her close friends from before during this whole year. And I think the fact that she chooses to stay behind over the summer is just kind of further confirmation that they've kind of drifted apart, because she can't really explain to her family what she's doing. They sort of feel a kind of distance with Emmeline as well. So I think she's feeling quite isolated and is trying to kind of comfort herself by saying, like, start of next year, I'm going to be, like, at top of the class.
We'll see about that.
We'll find out if that actually happens. That's all the time we have for this episode of A Game of One's Own, but next week the story will continue with Year 2 of Tangled Blessings. If you want to try Tangled Blessings for yourself, there's a link in the podcast description. You can also find out more about all the other brilliant games by Cassi Mothwin by following the links in the description. Thanks so much to this week's amazing guest, Wren. You can find links to their social media in the description as well. Thank you for listening to this episode of A Game of One's Own. Our theme music, as always, is by James Barbarossa, with additional music by Kevin MacLeod. If you'd like to support the show, head over to patreon.com/snazzytapier for all the bonus goodies. You can find the show on social media at A Game of One's Own, and find out more about my work at snazzytapier.com or at Maddy is Abstract on social media. See you next time for more weird stories.